Welcome back to the IoT podcast. I'm your host, Tom White. Every week we are joined by the biggest names in IoT to unravel the trends, misconceptions and predictions for the Internet of Things. Before we get into today's episode, don't forget to subscribe on whichever platform you're watching or listening on and turn on that notification bell so you're never out of the loop. In today's episode, I'm joined by Neda Sepasian, Innovation Business Partner, Marine and Land Asset Integrity at Fugro, the world's leading geodata service. We'll be getting into the role of IoT technology in geotechnical data collection, uncovering its applications in land-based infrastructure projects for monitoring of marine infrastructure and even moon inspections. Before we get into the episode, shout out to one of our sponsors today, 5E Tech. 5E Tech are specialists in finding people who make technology a force for good in the world. They bridge the gap between talent and deep tech businesses around the globe. Click the link in the description to find out more. Before we get into the episode, shout out to one of our sponsors, IoT Tech Expo Europe, the leading event for digital twins, IoT and digital transformation. Neda, welcome to the IoT podcast.
Hi Tom, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming on. Really looking forward to it. The last 3 podcasts I've started in the same way by saying, I think every podcast in the world, when they're introducing someone, asks them to explain who they are. So it seems like the right first question. So for people that don't know who you are or are not familiar with your name or your business, Fugro, could you give a short introduction to yourself and the company?
Yeah, sure. My full name is Neda Sepasian. I'm coming from quite like a far background back to biomedical imaging, computational optimization on multimodal images and also video sensing. And after my long history in university as a PhD student, later on as a postdoctoral fellow, I'm about few years, 12 years, I'm in various roles as a research scientist, business consultant, and at this moment, innovation business partner in Fugro. And in general, the topic that let's say my heart is really goes fast when I'm talking about it. It's very much goes to really smart sensing, artificial intelligence, advanced analytics, mixing the various inputs to basically create a sensing for your devices. That's where, let's say, my expertise really lies.
Fantastic. What a varied background that you've got in coming into this world in IoT, right? It always amazes me that so many people come into the smart sensing connectivity world from such a variety of different backgrounds. And I think that's testament to IoT as a concept, as an industry, as the fact that it really does encompass so many different aspects of life and technology, right?
Yep.
Rather than it being just a particularly linear path. So thank you for sharing the time to come on today. So you mentioned it there. You work for Fugro. So, and I think you pronounce it in a much more exotic and lovely way than I could possibly ever do it. So I'm going to ask you to say it again in a moment. But
it's a Fugro because
okay.
Indeed it's a Dutch multinational, but originally is being founded with a Dutch founder.
Okay.
And so it's coming from a Dutch name, which if I don't even dare to say it in Dutch, but it's a combination of engineering company for foundation technology and soil mechanics, and you do have that the G, which is basically the way that Dutch pronounce the G, is Fugro.
Yes. I'm sure my Dutch friends will give me a lot of stick for not saying it in the right way. But I often struggle with Dutch. I struggle with English sometimes, but that's another story. Okay, so you explained a little bit about what Fugro does then. So soil dynamics, etc. So a bit more about the company for listeners that don't know. How big is it? How long has it been going for?
The company originally founded 1962. And it basically the core was really on the foundation surveying of understanding the foundation and the soil mechanics before you actually start your build process, building, especially large assets, infrastructures. I would say pretty fast, actually, it expand to different bit on offshore and land-based surveying activities. So for very long, Fugro were basically shaped around basically surveying business, helping a large infrastructure owners, asset owners, to understand the environment they were about to plan to build during the operation, and also afterwards, how basically the assets are evolving with respect of the dynamic between the assets and the lands they are standing on. Today, we are a multinational company. We are about, sorry if the numbers might not be very accurate, but I think we are pretty near 10,000 engineers, surveyors, scientists around the world. And also, lots of our, commercial, entities, that, sitting, basically, I think we are quite expanded, in, most locations. We are divided, today, between, land, and marine activities. And within land, we do have variety of services and also technology built for actually respond to those services, because it's also very specific what we need to sense or we need to build to provide our services. And it comes to site characterization, which very much understanding your foundation, the geotechnical and geophysical property of your soil on your seafloor, and afterwards the integrity of your asset, the structural health monitoring of your assets. For example, it comes, and when I'm talking about asset, it can start with small, short distance bridges to quite large bridges, the city, the highways, the tunnels. Basically, it really expands to all definitions of what asset actually means in the terms of studying the structural integrity of the asset.
Thank you for the overview. Yeah, it sounds like a fantastic business that's been obviously growing since 1962 to 10,000 people, 10,000 engineers and scientists and people like yourself from a variety of backgrounds, doing some really interesting work and something that's actually not been on our podcast that often. I mentioned this to you when we were doing our discovery call, that geodata, both geotechnical, geophysical data, as you mentioned there, has a really interesting place in IoT, actually, and something that hasn't been explored that much. And that's what we're going to get into today and for folks to listen to. So in short, and just drilling down into a bit more detail on that, Neda, how is IoT being used in the geodata industry today?
That's a very good question. And I think answering to that, maybe it would be me talking for 45 minutes and more, but, let's just start with basically the whole, let's say like a basic, description of the geodata, which refers to basically the information you collect, from a location, the earth surfaces and the things that are living, basically, or standing on that surface. That's basically then, and it's include the mapping, the beams, the all sort of like a lithography, the structure of the soil and so on. And this all basically collectively, which also is the variation of many ways of actually collecting this type of information, being referred as the geodata. Or geodata information. then just when you just already thinking about how I put it together, you already very fast you see that okay, how also we refer to IoT, which is basically for us IoT, at least from my perspective, whatever that give me any information that I can access to understand a certain location in the time, temporal and spatial. And kind of it has the capability that create, as I am extrapolating the information, it actually create that connectivity that we call the Internet of Things together. That's basically, I see that, okay, I can place it as a family of IoT. In our sense for geodata, that's basically exactly what we do. So it's not necessarily that there may be a very typical type of sensors, that may be used. For example, is a engine sensor, or I don't like for example, two mobile phone are communicating with each other. That's not necessarily that always the case when it comes to the geodata, but it comes very much actually the collective sensing capability that you either looking at your assets, you are measuring, because there are actually devices installed in your land, in your asset, that continuously actually create that connectivity in the terms of a spatial and geospatial world that we are living in. That's where the IoT basically I think could be very well described.
Yes, thank you for that. A great explanation, and you're right. You know, we could talk about it for a long time, but I think you succinctly said that in a very nice way. And going back to Fugro as a business specialized in both land and marine, so I know we're going to talk about geodata specifically in those two areas today. So as a business, obviously, Fugro is involved in various land-based infrastructure projects. How does IoT technology contribute to enhancing the efficiency and accuracy of data collection monitoring of land projects?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Maybe I think one of the very nice examples that I think basically is also could very well describe when I'm talking about the structural health monitoring and so on. That we have a series of products. Is the IoT based products that is based on measuring a very sensitive vision and optic based collecting vision and optic based information that from, for example, your asset, in this case especially the bridges, that within it's a touchless way for measuring deformations in a highest accuracy possible, to actually give a right insight that okay, can we predict or where exactly at this moment my assets well-being is. Why it is important for example in this model is because we about 40% of bridges infrastructure that available in the world, they are old or monumental. So it means that they are not really equipped with a certain type of gauging and torsion and a pressure type of sensors that when you are building those bridges, new bridges, you would equip your bridges actually with this type of sensors. So you can continuously, that's also a certain type of IoT. You measure actually those deformation and information that are important for your asset. In this case, we designed this vision and optic base that basically measuring a similar accuracy information in a very touchless way without actually you need to do a massive change in your infrastructure or in your build of your old or tangible assets. That's one example that basically, and basically that's also a kind of a model of IoT because you create a network of this sensing, very high profile sensing, vision models in order to basically get a very accurate profile of your bridge, or it can be also a very large building, or the things that you actually need to require this information about. That's one example, for example, I think for land.
Yes, I mean it's a great example around the bridge, because one of the things which I learned, and I'm no expert on geodata, and in fact, it's been quite fascinating for me to learn more about this doing the research in readiness for this podcast, is around how it can support conscious design around construction, operation, and in fact, it's quite interesting because we recently filmed another podcast with a sustainability leader from IBM talking around sustainability and decisions around buildings and infrastructure. So it'd be nice to talk a little bit more around that, actually, Neda. So it can consciously affect how construction can take place, can't it, by using geodata? How does it do that in reality?
So if I understand your question, is more like how basically by leveraging, especially like the today state of the art technology on IoT,
yes,
how we could kind of come to more sustainable resilience type of cities and
yes.
society. No, that's a very great example. Actually, I can maybe share a little bit I think rail assets. That's also one very tangible one to actually discuss this topic around. One of the activities that we are doing, basically, we have a smart sensing kit that is basically we install on the passenger rails, and as the rail moves, it acquire high profile information of the structure of your rail, your tamping, the growing around it. And at the same time, this information can be also combined with the IoT sensors that are usually, especially these days, not again everywhere. Again, what I say, I'm really talking about more, let's say, modern countries. Like, for example, Netherlands railways and British railways are very much equipped with the type of IoT sensor located on the railways. And basically, by combining this type of measurements, which is basically the IoT on a moving asset and what is actually is installed on your railway, we show that you can end up with reducing up to 20% of the activity that you do for maintenance, which is very much reactive maintenance on the rail assets. That actually can be also quite emission heavy, or even repetitive, and it might not be actually necessary, but due to safety and compliances and to just make sure that the railways are in a healthy situation, no accidents will happen, no dangerous situations along the railway. This usually happens very much in a kind of a reactive, but in a sense, just keep repeating it. But actually, by merging this IoT sensing type of information that you get from the profile of your rail, just by the fact that the speed, the torsion as the rail pass by the rail corridor, and also this measurement, you actually can create quite a confidential, the high confidentiality input for our maintenance contractor. That basically, this is the time, this is the region, and this type of maintenance actually now makes sense because you can really reduce up to 25% maybe unnecessary activities, which would be very fast come to the reduction. First of all, I think saving pretty quite some a budget on maintenance, but also for me, I think most importantly is reducing the CO2 emission that we create basically to keep our infrastructure in place and ourselves safe.
Yes, yeah. Fabulous example, and you spoke so clearly and knowledgeably on that. Actually, Neda, it's really, really good to hear. And just moving on to the next area, then. So marine. So we spoke about both land and marine being the two primary elements that you're servicing as a business at the moment. How does geodata work with, say, offshore marine activity, rigs and so on?
Yeah, that's also a very great, and I think great question, and also I think a very nice world to kind of get involved to. Maybe a little bit that when it comes to marine, you have basically offshore and onshore activities. When it goes to the offshore, when I say it's the subsea and over the sea activities. Mm-hmm. Over the sea, especially, that it comes very much on also understanding the structure of your offshore wind farm. That's also can be a pretty important process when it comes to basically to make sure that the turbines are healthy and also generating the most the most power that basically create also the scalability for the asset owners. That's one. And also when it comes to subsea, it very much comes to the pipeline, the cable inspection, the foundation of the asset. It can be, again, foundation of the wind turbine, the wind farm properties. And also at this moment, still, even within oil and gas, of course, you have the sites, and that you want basically to make sure that the sites are continuously healthy and safe for remote operation centers or people actually that are working there. So very much it goes to that area. And I think the most important part that I'm very happy that we have a technology for it is more also come to our awareness for biodiversity and basically that looking at the effect of our own build activities on the offshore and biodiversity and how the sea life is we are affecting the sea life. And there also that's also one of the part of the monitoring and also understanding the pre and after and during the build and the living of your assets, how we are influencing the world around us.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? It's the marine element to IoT and the whole infrastructure of marine, both subsea, above the sea, offshore, onshore. It's not something I'm fully versed on, so I find it fascinating, actually. Primarily just because there's so much when it comes to subsea activity and little that we know actually about the oceans, etc. So the use of this geodata surely has such a vital part to play, doesn't it, when it comes to marine activity? And forever we're going to be discovering and trying out new concepts. So when it comes to kind of underwater inspections and monitoring, could we talk a little bit more about that as well, about how Fugro
sure we can I think we can cover, maybe because it's more even we can even cover it as a whole system that comes together to actually bring that understanding that quite like a safety and awareness of that basically operation and also the situation that we put ourselves and of our assets in there. So we can maybe go through through that a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could. Yeah.
So how do you want me to leverage this? More like maybe we could walk through how actually the data being collected.
I think from an end-to-end perspective, so data being collected, the use of that, and then decisions that are made from the analysis of that data would be useful.
Yeah, that's great. So, for example, let's put ourselves into the situation that the pre-build of for example, the wind farm. Yeah. So, what usually the asset owners and in this case our clients mostly come to understand is first of all the investigation of the environment. And when it's an investigation, it comes to the all information around it, the subsea mapping, the type of the currents and the model of the meteorological basically model within maybe a year, 2 year, and how that could be forecasted, how it would influence their asset, how it could influence, for example, in this case, their power generation. And also the most important thing is that how it influences, because every build might have impacts on our environment, how potentially we can, while we need to basically create and generate this type of infrastructure offshore, how we can get the understanding of the environment by the sea life, basically. What type of species are living around that area? What are the stream schedules of the species? How potentially we would influence that. At the same time, measuring also the environmental DNA of basically that region, to understand while we actually building our assets, how we are influencing in the sense of are we kind of create a maybe negative or positive effect for creating biodiversity in those platforms. So therefore, we basically it comes to how we measure the data. For provide this type of information, you have your subsea vehicles that basically that they are usually in communication in some form with your fleets. These days, it's good to mention that we do most of our operations with unmanned fleets. Well, maybe I should not say most of, but we are getting there, and which means that we no longer bring a very large fleet with many number of people. And again, thanks to the IoT, the communication, the satellite positioning, the robotic, basically, is possible that we could reduce potentially the size quite a bit, and also the number of people that should travel to one location to provide all this information from the for that geographical location. And then basically it comes to how you gather the data. And from there, it's again we're talking about the multimodal data. You care for actually the DNA of your water, really PHP, the type of the algae, the living being, basically, to kind of map that for that region, that understand, okay, what are the important features that we should be careful for. It comes to the sea mapping, which basically you can use the acoustic seismic type of imaging to actually provide all the information around that gives the information about your sea floor profile. And you have the meteorological IoT sensors. That it's when I say that, it's very much come to actually the buoys, because buoys actually they are quite interesting IoT kit, that they have all sort of sensing for positioning, for acquiring the RGB type of information, acquiring the acoustic type of information, hearing what are the birds, the mammals. And basically, these all come together to kind of to give us a full understanding and information. Basically, all this data get integrated to give a understanding of the spatial, especially understanding of the environment, and then you have the more temporal sensors, especially that it comes to more linear type of sensors that give you more the timely temporal information to kind of you merge to really understand now, okay, how I can forecast changes that can evolve to other data that I provide. I collect.
Thanks again for IoT Tech Expo Europe for sponsoring today's episode. IoT Tech Expo Europe brings together Europe's brightest minds to talk about cutting-edge technology in one place. Experience top-level discussions, innovative IoT innovations and strategies. Mark your calendars for the 26th and 27th of September 2023 when IoT Tech Expo Europe returns to the vibrant city of Amsterdam. I'll be there, will you? Get your tickets at iottechexpo.com/Europe. The link will be in the description. Oh, a fantastic overview. I mean, it seems like such a large area to cover, doesn't it? Actually, from the initial point to getting the data.
And we just covered the before the build, so we can go, but and I think that's why actually that's is quite fascinating when you look at the amount of technology, knowledge, and everything that get integrated basically to even even when you look at the wind farm, for me it's fascinating how much of technology and engineering and effort went there to actually establish that, build it, and just leave it in one place. So it gives us what we need to live and be safe and happy.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And lastly, I know we spoke about land and marine, but it's not just that. We've actually got a use case here about a space exploration. So Fugro has been involved in a moon inspection project with an Australian space agency. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. That's actually it's one of the collaboration and partnership we have within the ROSE consortium with Australian Space Agency. Together with a few amazing partners that we basically the project is very much is to translate the knowledge that we gain basically by land inspection and the technology around it, because we're also talking about the situations that your communication is more complicated. You don't have necessarily a direct, like in middle of Indian Ocean. You have to establish the different technology to actually make sure the communication and the data flow is as seamless as it should be. But basically, that's to provide and push the knowledge that we gain in this very difficult environment for inspection on Earth, together with other partners for moon soil inspection. Especially this particular project is it's a first step to provide enough information that how we can for extracting oxygen from the moon's surface, because that's that vital next step to make the a sustainable staying or human staying on moon possible.
It's incredible. Yeah, incredible project. And I think it shows the kind of depth and coverage that not only Fugro but Geodata can have in a variety of different areas, both from land, marine, space. I mean, it really does cover so many different facets. Hugely interesting. Just where can people just find out more around Geodata, Fugro's activities? Because I think there's a lot here to uncover. Obviously, a short time on the podcast, right? Yeah,
that's. Well, I really recommend if for the audience, also maybe yourself, if you are interested to read more and learn more of what is happening. We have actually our new webpage just launched. And I think there you can find quite nice use cases and examples that basically bring all the bits and pieces of the technology that I maybe also mentioned during our chat. You can actually see them in a real action, and that real examples and quite interesting examples that basically how this all come together for solving also pretty cool use cases. So I really recommend that. Just browse the new webpage. It's just fun. Also, I think I really like it that how we gather all the nice activities together in one place.
Oh, excellent. Well, we'll put the link to the new website in the comments when this video is released.
I will.
In the various places online. Thank you, Neda, and it's been absolutely fantastic having you on the show this week. Really, really insightful. Personally, for me as well, it's an area that I've not known much about and interested to explore, and it's fascinating. So I'll definitely go and check that out. after we finish.
No, thanks again. And I really enjoyed, and thanks for also inviting me, because I always love to actually talk about all the cool things that we do.
I can tell you're passionate about it.
Yeah, it's just, we build robots that do cooler stuff, basically. That's what we do. And I'm really, enjoying that. In general, if yourself, maybe, I don't know, the audience, there are some topics that pop up. It's always, I'm very happy that you could being contacted. So if somebody like to learn more about the topic, that's also I'm very much always welcoming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Information sharing,
Absolutely, yeah. And as we come to wrap up the show today, there's a few questions I'm going to ask you that we ask our guests every week. My first question for you on this, Neda, is what is your prediction for IoT as succinctly as possible this year? What do you hope that's going to come into fruition in 2023 for IoT?
I think the whole new generative AI that I think all of us, we hear a lot about it, is potentially can open up quiet, unseen or untaught applications, and also even technological developments of IoT. Because basically really push us toward really thinking creative that, hey, like with all this now, what additional I can do that maybe even we didn't think of. But I think when it comes to the industry challenge, it's, I think even the word digitalization, if you just like frame it that way, I think we are really pushing that era of that digitalization challenge in industry, and we are getting in that maturity that basically we can actually start leveraging IoT. Because if today I look at least the mapping the industry, what is happening is that we are really in a first step that have that connectivity and that sensing and gathering data ready in that higher scale or larger scale, that we can open up the potential of IoT, which is really like predictive forecasting, understanding the facts, influence, effects of the things that are around us, because it's all coming from basically also learning from the rare cases, information history, or the links, correlations that maybe we didn't have that data integrated well to leverage. So how I see that actually is, I think we heard for quite a few years about predictive modeling and forecasting, but not in that industrially accurate stage that let's say it really, we say that we can leverage it. And I think my prediction is that this is going to be a breakthrough, the coming breakthrough, not the sense of is a new hype. No, that's the thing we were talking about for a few years already. Finally, I think we are in the place that we actually can see the potential and start making it useful and profitable for the industry.
You're absolutely right with that. I think harnessing the data, plugging that into an advanced language model to then give you suggestions about what you can do and how you can link that together would make sense.
Yeah.
A lot of it is obviously based on prompts, isn't it? So the higher quality of prompts and data that we can give it, the better it is. And this is where the geodata comes in as well, right? So the more
exactly. We see it in the era that we are, because for us also for many years we were really like figuring out how we can create a more mature data backbone, data infrastructure, that making all this link integration of the different data, understanding the correlation of various things easier for our clients also, and how, because basically it also make it possible to open up those data potentially to the world, like in ocean decay. I don't know, that's one of the topics that we didn't get a chance to go through, but I really recommend everybody to actually check what's happening in ocean decay. It's basically, that's all about it. Basically, to linking almost 40 years of data collected in the world, but they were not in that maturity that we could be just open up or leverage in the way that it should be. And this is all, I think, basically it's all exciting, because we are basically we did our baby steps, and we are going to that really that mature place that now finally we can do, let's say, more grown-up activity in the industrial level with advanced analytic and predictive and the distributed smart systems.
Yeah, excellent. Oh, fantastic. And a couple of quick fire questions, if I can. What is the one IoT gadget that you have at home that you can't live without?
I must say I really love the Wi-Fi booster I have.
Okay.
It's IP Link. I can't even say the name is IP Link. So basically what it does is that you put it in, especially if you have a place with different levels. And if you are living in a very centralized, rural, populated area, so as you actually might get in some levels of the house, connectivity problem. And basically what it does is it balance out or optimize your connectivity within all the floors, and how you are prioritizing actually the events or the tools that are using the your Wi-Fi connection. So I could not live without it, because then I wouldn't have so many of my meetings as seamless as I want. So I love that.
Oh, good. I remember when femtocell first came out, and then we advanced to mesh networking and so on. So it's absolutely critical. You know, I'm speaking to you today of, I think, about the third or fourth access point that we've got in the office. Daisy checking off another one. So yeah, absolutely. And a quote that you live by, Neda. So what is it that sort of drives you as an individual, or what reminds you every day to do what you do?
It's from Napoleon Hill, I believe. I think it's Napoleon Hill, that if you cannot do great things, do a small things in a great way. And I think that's the whole world about it. It doesn't mean that always you have to run after things that just, I don't know, like look big and shiny, because all that steps that come together, it's always, if you keep adding 0.001 to 1, eventually it becomes something, but if it's just you add the 0 to 1, nothing happened, so basically that's what really drives me. Just
I like it. Incremental changes. I've got another quote for you, actually. So very similar to that, and one I live by is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Everything, yeah.
So I absolutely agree. Neda, thank you so much for coming on to the IoT podcast show today. You've been excellent. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks a lot. I also really enjoyed chatting with you around what we do. Thanks for inviting me again, and wish you a great sunny weekend ahead of you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you once again to IoT Tech Expo Europe for sponsoring today's episode. Once again, please get your tickets. The link will be in the description.
Thanks for tuning in to the IoT podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on whatever platform you're on. See you next week for more IoT talks and tales.